So this is the modeling for VFX document, explaining my workflow and the creation of my project due to the brief. We were tasked with creating a robot that we would pose and integrate into a realistic shot. This was done using one of the reference images that was found on the website. I decided to go with this robot that was very colourful. Whilst its actual shape was rather basic compared to some of the other models, I think the texturing really brought the model together, and would definitely be an interesting challenge to try and push myself with techniques that I was looking to use in the future, also ones that I am less comfortable with. So to begin with, we had to model the robot. On the side, there's the flat shaded version, which uses a slightly lower polygon count, and it's less subdivided, giving it a more rough look. However, for the UV unwrapping and texturing stages, it greatly increases the workflow and allows the project to run a lot more smooth, as it doesn't have to work with heavier workloads, compared to the right hand side where they started to shade smooth, which simplifies it and basically gives it a more rounded finish, which can be good for soft edges and circular bevels. One of the benefits of the modeling process was using the mirror tool. As you can see, there's a line of symmetry down the middle of the robot. This allowed me to greatly speed up the workflow also, due to the fact that I only had to model half of the robot, and it would ensure that the other half is equal. So when modeling stuff like fingers or legs, it allows you to be a lot more accurate within different versions of the same piece, such as a pointer finger or an index finger be the same on both sides. Once the robot was fully made, we had to texture it, which included unwrapping the model. That meant that the topology and the actual face sets of the robot had to be very clean, which would allow us for a better unwrap. As you can see on the texture tiles, larger spaces were given to areas that required more detail. So specifically the head and the body and the feet, a large portion of that is very visible and attracts. So largest was given to these assets to be able to be seen and stand out, including in the roughness map as well. The metallic was kept quite not shiny, kept quite rough due to the fact that if it was being composited into a real shot, the reflections would often be difficult to do. So keeping that as a more rough and worn metal is more realistic and more suiting for my brief. So once that was done, we had to rig the model. Using the curves in the bottom image allows you to control the rig in a lot more intuitive way. This will mean that the handles will make sense to an animator and prevents you from directly influencing the bones themselves, which may lead to some issues in the line. In the top right hand side, you can see the weight painting step, which allowed us to mean that there would be no deform between different bones, and each part of the model would animate and move correctly. So once that was all done, we went out and took photos. Using Adobe Bridge, we could capture the camera data and use that in our final shots to match it, allowing for a greater match of focus and detail. Found a HDRI online from a free website, which was very similar in design and of colour to my actual design. There was a bit of tweaking that we had to do in Photoshop with the HDRI, but I really think that it did match it well, and that has given me a better chance of doing it. So this is the final after some compositing. It was taken down in brightness quite a bit. It suited the kind of rough and dirty form of the robots better, and allowed them to be integrated better into the shot. So that was done all afterwards in post-processing, which was done in Photoshop due to its complexities with the layers, and allowed for greater control of all the saturation and contrast between the robots.